Hey everybody, it's Jeremy Kulikowski here, and I'm so excited to come at you guys tonight with an important topic, which is hope. We're going to talk about how to get back hope, the 4 hacks to get back hope. And I want you to take a second and just ask yourself if you've ever just kind of thought about just throwing in the towel when it comes to getting out of debt, building wealth. We're going to talk about the different types of things. Maybe it was even in your communication with your spouse and things improving on that front. But have you ever thought about just throwing in the towel? Even just right now, this message is for somebody. If you're watching this, I don't know who you are. I can't see you yet, but I'm just trusting that God is going to work and use this. And if you are at a point where you've thought about just to heck with it, or I give up, or what is the point, or even, and again, don't tune me out. I'm going to say this multiple times because some of you guys are going to be like, "Well, this is kind of dark, Jeremy. I'm not that bad," but just don't tune me out. Don't tune me out. I promise you, everybody on some level is dealing with this. So that's kind of more the blatant, kind of really obvious, like, oh my gosh, this is really, 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 really bad. To heck with it. What's the point? What's the point of living? I give up. Some of you have said that. I hear that from people all the time. But at the same time, I hear things a little bit more subtle and a little bit more sneaky, like, I sure hope this works out. And, wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't that be nice? And I really wish things could get better. And, maybe at some point, things like that. Even those words, those statements, guys, they are a little bit less dramatic, a little bit less blatant, but they still carry the same energy of skepticism, of hopelessness, and of doubt, where you're almost waiting for things to screw up. You're almost waiting for things not to actually manifest the way that you want to and happen in your life. And so if you're at a point where you've said that, and guys, I can tell you, almost everybody in life, everybody, if you're watching this again, you have had those thoughts. And again, if you've had those thoughts in the last couple of weeks, raise your hand. And again, everyone has. Okay, I've had a thought. It's like, man, it's like, man, I hope this. And it's like, oh, you have to correct that. You're like, oh my gosh, but really, guys, those are just verbal tells. Those words that you say, those even just the thoughts that you have. It's like those are tells that there's some part of you that's still got the inner skeptic. There's some part of you that's still the person who's doubting and not believing and is ultimately afraid of the worst case scenario or of things actually not panning out the way that you guys want to. And we're going to really talk about hope because, again, guys, like, it's something that I hear all the time from people that reach out is on some level, in some way, shape, or form, they're on the verge of feeling hopeless or feeling helpless, or they're already feeling that way, or they know at some point, if things don't change and they've tried changing for a very long time and it's not working, that they're going to end up hopeless. They're going to end up helpless, that the situation is not going to improve and that it's going to get worse. And so please don't tune me out, guys, because for all of us, there is a gap in life. We all have a gap. So you're right here and you've got your goals over here, the things that you guys want. And guys, like over here, if you think about it, it's like whether it's getting out of debt, whether it's, being retirement ready, whether it's having a nice big fat emergency fund, whether it's ending the money fights or ending, apathy or coldness in your marriage, whether it's having passion again, whether it's just removing overall general stress and anxiety around money, whether it's, just living your purpose, your dream career, really having something that fulfills you. We all have a gap, right? So again, here you are right here. Here's what you want. We all have this thing called a gap. Okay. So again, if you're watching this, you've got a gap on some level. So again, don't tune me out and be like, oh, it's not that bad. We all have a gap. Everybody has a gap. I don't care how outwardly successful you are. I know billionaires that have gaps. Okay. I know one guy who it's like, he had so much money. He's one of the wealthiest people in the world. One of my coaches coached him. And it was like literally the guy every night had to get him, would pay to have a massage therapist come and give him a massage because his wife didn't want to touch him. So he had a gap. Okay. Everybody has gaps in life. And everyone gets to this point of in different areas of life when you've tried and tried and tried and tried and tried and tried to fix it. Maybe you've even like, Jeremy, I read the $27 little ebook, or I took the $300 course, or I read the book that everyone said you got to read, and I read it back, frontwards to backwards, and I highlighted it and I underlined it, and it's still not working. And then I read the other book that everyone told me else to read, and then I read the other book that Amazon told me to read, and then I watched the YouTube video, and I watched the Google thing, and I had the spouse, and we had the budget meeting, and then we did this, and we did that, we did the marriage counselor, whatever it is you tried to fix, whatever it is you're trying to fix, and Jeremy, it's still not working. That's where you find that gap. And that's where ultimately most people on some level feel a level of helplessness or hopelessness. And so that's what we're going to talk about, is how to get back hope. Because guys, like, here's the thing, like, it's so easy. If you're watching this, it's like very likely, again, on some level, you're feeling beat down, you're feeling worn out. And again, guys, when you try time and time again, there comes a point where you just almost kind of check out. And it may not happen right now, But I can tell you, having talked to people who get later on in life in their 40s, 50s, 60s, eventually, again, guys, a lot of people just accept the fate. They just accept it. And, it's kind of like, I don't know if you guys ever had this happen when you were in school. Maybe it's because I was a boy. I asked my wife if she had this happen. She said no. But I said, have you ever had it happen in life where, like you sit down and it's like, go to sit down, like some knucklehead like pulls a chair, kid pulls a chair out from underneath you, and like you fall back on your butt, and it's like everyone kind of laughs whenever, and you try to laugh and play it off, whatever, but it really kind of hurts. Well, it's one of those things where, it's kind of funny in a sense. It's kind of silly, especially if it's in good fun, but it's one of those things where, and I'm going to share this story very personally, and please, again, don't tune me out, because I know you might be like, Jeremy, it's like, this is, only 50,000 people do this every year. Well, I want you to really hear me out. Please hear me out. If you're watching this, please don't click out. Some of you guys might know this, some of you guys might not, but when I was 17 years old, my dad took his life. And there was a point, and I think about it, I've been thinking about it more lately. There was a point where he had to make 1,000 little decisions to get to that final point. And there was a point where I know he was standing on a chair at some point in our closet, in my parents' closet. And at one point, he had to kick that chair out from underneath him. And guys, again, I'm talking about this because even if we do talk to people that honestly, you've had thoughts of suicide, you've had thoughts of ending your life, you've even had thoughts of at some point, man, if you know that if this doesn't change, maybe you would see that happen again. Every other person in this country statistically knows somebody who's even done that. And so suicide affects a lot of people. So if you're watching this and you're feeling that, again, this is for you. But it's not just for people that are going to commit that, really violent, blatantly terrible act. The one that society does not does not allow or have any room for whatsoever. Which again, obviously, we don't want to. But what I'm saying is, that's obviously the most taboo. The least taboo are things like this. It is the 10,000 little deaths that we choose to make every single day whenever we are feeling like a shell of who we are and when we're becoming a shell of who we are. And so there might be things like maybe you're binge watching television, you're binge watching shows, you're binge watching social media all day long. And it's like ultimately because you're just trying to escape and deal with the hopelessness. It's like maybe again, a lot of that's inappropriate stuff usually. Maybe it's you're just turning to food. Maybe it's ice cream. Maybe it's candy. Maybe it's, Starbucks, whatever it is, stuff that's usually junk. Whether it is that, whether it's alcohol, whether it's tobacco, whether it is workaholism, you can think about guys, working your butt off, just, whatever it would be. Most people, if they're not going to commit that act, it's like, it's the slow death that happens 10,000 little choices. And then one day you just wake up and all of a sudden it's like, basically just become hopeless and you finally just settle into that. And I just, I posted the other day, but I'm like, the death certificate, when you look at those people, it might as well just say like heartbreak, that was really why they died. And guys, the reason why I'm talking about this is because I just want you to know that there is hope. And we're going to talk about what you can actually do to get back hope. But I just, one of the biggest things again, that would drive my family crazy is, again, it's like we look at people in society that make those decisions, that do take their own lives. And it's like, but again, almost every single person that I've met, when there's a gap in their life, you start to turn to other unhelpful things, toxic things, things that are ultimately going to end your life, end your marriage, and your ability to be an amazing parent, whatever it would be, if you continue to go down that road. And so again, if this resonates with you on some level, which for every single person, if you're really being honest with you, it should, because again, we all have gaps like I talked about. You need to keep watching this, okay? Because we're going to talk about hope. So I want to talk about 4 specific traits. If you guys want to feel hope again, if you want to feel hope again, what's going to happen? And I'm talking about this because I had a lady email the other day. She was so sweet. And she's like, Jeremy, here's our situation. She's like, is there hope for us? And I just had to tell her, I said, honestly, I don't know. I don't know. And the reason why I said I don't know is because you have to have a few specific character traits to be able to have hope again. Because again, if you don't have these character traits, really, life's not going to change. And if life doesn't change, that's why people feel hopeless. And so I'm going to talk about 3 different specific character traits. So again, if you're taking notes, you're going to want to write these down. It's usually not a strategy. The strategies are important, but even then, if you don't have the right character traits, you're never going to implement the strategy. So what are the 3 things that we look for time and time again, where it's like, yep, if you're willing to be these 3 things, actually there's 4 specific traits, but if you're willing to be these 4 things, you can actually fix this. You can actually have hope again, and you can actually get where you want to be. So the first one, guys, is decisive and committed. Now, what do I mean by that? The word decide literally means to cut off. If you are going to have hope again, you have to cut off the possibility of failure. You have to cut off the possibility of accepting what your current reality is and saying, enough is enough. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. You have to hit that breaking point. And I have some people that are like, oh, I don't, I'm not, it's not super emotional. It's like, guys, like, it has to get emotional. I don't know anybody that's ever changed on any level, period. Doesn't matter if it's like, again, no matter what the gap is, it's like whether you start the business of your dreams, you get the career of your dreams. It's like you get the marriage of your dreams, you get the income of your dreams, you get the debt of, payoff of your dreams, the savings of your dream, whatever it would be. It's like nobody ever gets those things if you do not totally decide to do it from an emotional place of, I am sick of this. I'm tired of this. I don't care if you're making $1 million a year. The people that I know that go from 1 million to 2 million are like, screw this. This sucks. I don't want 1 million. I want 2 million. It's like, because again, you want to impact more lives. You want more freedom. You want to make a bigger difference. It's like, it has to be visceral. It has to be emotional. It has to be, you have to have, again, this decisiveness, this committedness to just say, you know what? It doesn't matter what happens. I am done with this. I'm over it. Over it. Capital OVERIT exclamation point. I'm over it. Enough. I'm sick and tired of it. I'm done. You have to have that. If you want to get hope back, you have to first take on that character trait. And I just kind of combine them into one: decisive and committed. You just have to. You have to cut off what your current reality is and just say, you know what? I'm not going to live like this anymore. I'm done with it. I'm sick of it. Screw it. That's the first one. The second one, guys, is resourceful. What do I mean by that? The greatest resource you could ever have is resourcefulness. The greatest resource you could ever have. And so, guys, here's the truth. In life, there's always going to be a challenge, whether it's coronavirus, whether it's rioting, pillaging, whatever your business, whatever it would be. It's like, there's always going to be some chaos in the world, some drama in the world, drama and chaos and things. Again, as heartbreaking as it is right now. And it's like, and as heartbroken as I am and what's going on and everything like this, guys, there's always been challenges like this. There always will be challenges like this, whether it's that, whether it's time, whether it's money, there's always going to be something standing between you and what you want out of life. But you have to be resourceful, whether it's, again, time, energy, money, whatever, it doesn't matter. There's always going to be something standing between you, guys. Again, we talked about the gap. Okay. Here you are. Here's where you want to be. There's always going to be something in between you guys in terms of a challenge that's going to take you from where you are. You have to cross in order to get where you want to be. You have to be resourceful. A great story for this illustration. There's a very popular person. If I said their name, you would recognize them right away. One of the top self-help, personal performance improvement gurus, whatever. Okay. But most people don't know about this person. Actually, I'll just say their name. It's Tony Robbins. Okay. So if you know about Tony Robbins, okay. It's, again, I was just talking to one of my coaches who just knows the guy and whatever, that he worked for him for a while. So here's the story. Okay. So again, Tony was one of those people where he literally when he was broke, he was living in his car at one point, or I think he was living in his car, like some crappy apartment. I'm pretty sure it was his car. Had like no money to his name, but there was a guy named Jim Rohn that he wanted to be able to work with at some point. He was super inspiring. And so he went to Jim, he called Jim, and he's like, hey, he called his team and said, hey, I want to work for you, Mr. Rohn. Mr. Rohn said, fine, that's fine. You can work for me, but you need to buy all of my tapes first. And you need to listen to all of my tapes. And he's like, okay, great. How much is it? It was $3,000. Now this was like, 40 years ago or 50? I don't know how old. I think something like that. It was like 40 something years ago. So back then that was a lot of money, right? That was a lot of money for him. But when he heard that, he was so sick and tired of his situation. He was like, he was willing to do whatever it takes, but he had no money. He literally didn't have like 2 nickels to rub together. So he literally went knocking door to door to door. Knock, yeah, my name is Tony Robbins. It's like, I'm here. It's like, gave his pitch door to door in the neighborhood. It's like nobody listened. Nobody wanted to hear it. Nobody cared. And after 3 days of just cold knocking, he finally went to the bank and he went there to apply for a loan. And they turned him down. And as he was walking out the door, a woman ran up to him and gave him a check. And she said, Mr. Robbins, she's like, the bank cannot support you, but I believe in you. I want to support you. She gave him the check. He bought the tapes. Now he's Tony Robbins. If you don't know who he is, it's okay, whatever. But bottom line, it's whatever. Think about any of these big celebrity kind of, people would say he's very popular. So again, the point is, guys, is that resourcefulness is the ultimate resource. He was resourceful. He didn't have the money. He didn't have the money, but ultimately it didn't matter when he was committed. And that's the thing we're talking about. So I'm stacking on decisiveness and committed. When you are resourceful, you will always find a way. I don't care how hard the situation is. For the resourceful people, they will always find a way. Okay. So that's really the second one. The third one that we're going to talk about specifically is being real. So what do I mean? Being real with yourself, being real with your spouse, and being real with your circumstances. Guys, here's the thing is what is not going to give you hope is being delusionally optimistic where you sit back, relax, and just think that God is going to solve all of your problems for you without you lifting a finger. That does not work. That's not how God works in his economy. In scripture, it says we reap what we sow. If you want to have a different life, you have to walk in obedience. If you're not saving, you have to save. God is not just going to drop gold coins out of the sky. Okay, he did it. Jesus did it once to pay for the taxes out of the mouth of a fish, but it's like he's not going to do that. Okay, to pay your bills. It's like you have to take action. You do. That is a demonstration of faith. If you guys haven't watched our training, this is, again, I talk about this as one of the first shifts that we do in our free training. If you haven't done that, you can go to my jeremykulikowski.com. You can watch it there. But guys, it's one of those things where you need to, first of all, acknowledge the fact that God is not going to bail you out, and you have to face your circumstances. If you've got bills under your bed, pull out the bills. Look at the numbers. If you have only paid off $10,000 in debt over the past year and you still have $100,000 left, stop telling yourself you're going to be debt free in a year if you have no plan in place to fix it. Or 2 years, that's just going to get better. If you have no retirement in place and you're in your 40s or 50s, to just say it's all going to work out one day without a strategy, guys, that is not realistic. That is not going to happen. You have to face the situation. Like, it's no different than if you're driving down the road and you're driving toward a cliff and you're just ignoring all the danger signs. You're just like, nope, it's all good. It's all good. It is all good. It's like, it is not good. You have to face it. And guys, the reason why I'm saying this, not to beat up on you, it's because this is the place of freedom. This is where you start. Because again, I know how I said you got to get sick and tired of being sick and tired. In order to get there, you first have to just face the reality and face the truth for what it is. You have to be like, this sucks. We have not made any progress. Our plan sucks. And it's okay. My plan sucked for the longest time. My plan, before we started getting out of debt and before my wife and I were able to do that, what my plan was for managing my money or for budget, even just for like, I called it a budget. It was literally looking back and saying, hey, how much money did I spend? Did I not overdraft? Great. I budgeted. I did a budget, whatever. It's like, that was my idea of a good financial plan. Now, again, guys, in order to get out of debt, build wealth, have your dream life, marriage, things like that, obviously it's like even just getting a budget right, which nobody has ever come to us and knows how to do, is like this much of it. It's like, honestly, just a small piece of the pie. But even that, guys, it's like one of those things where no matter what it is, you cannot just ignore the facts. You cannot ignore the truth. Again, I've never met a single person that was adequately prepared for the future when it comes to retirement, savings, whatever. Never met them in terms of people that book calls with us. Never met them. Never met them. I don't care how much money they're making. I don't care if they're making, a few $100,000 a year. Never met the person. Nobody's prepared. Almost nobody in this country is prepared, guys. 7 out of 10 are living paycheck to paycheck. And even if you're not living paycheck to paycheck, you just don't have enough prepared. So you have to face the music. You have to face the truth. Be real with yourself. Be real with your spouse. Sometimes it's like people reach out and are like, oh my gosh, like my spouse isn't that interested in fixing it. Do they really know how much this is freaking you out? Do they really know? Have you cried in front of them yet? I mean, maybe you haven't. I'm not trying. Again, it's like, especially we have some women who reach out to us, different people, and it's like, my husband does not want it. He doesn't care, whatever. I get it. And maybe you've done everything that you could, but it's like, are you personally, truly facing it and are being honest with yourself about this is what's going to happen if I don't fix this, if we don't fix this? Are you truly allowing yourself to enter the emotion of it, to enter the feeling of where it is in your body, letting yourself cry, letting yourself freak out, letting yourself get anxious? Because guys, if you don't do that, you're not going to feel a desire to change. And most of us suppress our pain, suppress our stress, suppress our anxiety, suppress the negative emotion. That's why you don't fix it. And that's when people were like, why does it have to be emotional? Because again, that's where we make change from. All of us make change from an emotional standpoint. The reason why you change, you stop touching your finger, on top of the hot stove once it's because it starts to hurt. It's like, right? You have to feel something. You have to feel a reaction to it. So if you just numb yourself to it, if you deaden yourself to how you're currently feeling and what's going to happen if you don't fix it, even if, again, like I said, it's like, oh, Jeremy, we don't have debt or we got great income. But if you really think about what are the potentials, especially in today's economy, and especially things like that, if you were to lose your job, if something were to happen in your house, if the basement was to flood. I talked to someone the other day, it's like the basement flooded, the insurance didn't cover it. It was like $35,000 out of pocket. It's like, whether it's that, whether it's, our car needs replaced, whether it's our kids are going to college at some point, whether it's like, man, I'm only 10 or 15 years out from retirement. And to be honest, like we don't even have hardly anything saved. Again, you can only live off 4% of your nest egg. If you're just doing like a 401k, Roth IRA, whatever, that means if you have $1 million, you can only take out about $40,000 a year so that the whole thing doesn't dry up. That, guys, most of you, that's like, even that is just, half or a third of what you might be spending, because again, if you think about after taxes, all that plus inflation, guys, it's like, so even like saying like, oh, I want it, like, oh, I have so many people that are like, oh, well, I don't want to be a millionaire. It's like, oh, I don't want to be a millionaire. It's like, oh, that's, they kind of judge people that want to be millionaires. Guys, you have to be, like, if you don't become a millionaire, it's like, you're barely going to survive nowadays. So it's not even that big, cool of a thing anymore, in the sense that like, it's not that extravagant. It's really not. Like, you have to in order to be able to really have, like, not just like, go and travel and write big checks to organizations, which again, that's why I want really godly people and really great people to be wealthy, is so that you guys can change the world. But on top of that, just survival. Again, if you think about it, it's like, especially if the government's not going to be there with some of the Medicare, Medicaid, all this kind of stuff at some point, or with Social Security, insecurity, who knows what the heck's going to happen. But again, the only person you can depend on is yourself at this point. You can't depend on your kids. You can't depend on your church. You can't depend on your community. It's like, it's up to you, like, in order to save and to prepare and to adequately be there. But again, you're never going to get there and take that step if you're not real with yourself, real with your spouse. Face the circumstances for what they are, boldly stare them down. I can't tell you how many people I've talked to that got hope, even if they were like drowning in debt, where they hid all the bills underneath their bed and they didn't look at them. Like, the place where they really started to get free is they pulled all the bills out and just laid them all on their bed and just stared at them. It's like, what is going on? So again, the first thing again, decisive and committed, like we talked about, resourceful. You've got to be real. You just absolutely have to do that. Again, you cannot be delusionally optimistic, just pretending it like everything's going to be okay, lying to yourself, lying to your spouse. Like, you have to be real. You cannot put the blinders on anymore. Take your head out of the sand. That's how you're going to get there. Because again, from that place, that's where it gets emotional. That's where you get passionate. That's where you get fed up. And that's where you go, screw it, I'm done. Again, even if you have no debt, even if you have great savings, it's like, there is a gap. Again, there is a gap. I've never met one person where it's like, oh yeah, everything is exactly the way that I want it to be. My marriage or communication, it is perfect. Couldn't be better. My career, oh, I'm the most fulfilled. And it's like, there's no way it could be better. There's no way I could be making more money than I currently am. There's no way I could be making a bigger impact. Again, all of us are right here. We have desires over here. There is a gap. For all of you watching this, there is a gap. And to all of you, on some level, you've tried to fix it before. And again, on some level, you're feeling hopeless. Every single person watching this, because you tried to fix it, it hasn't worked. So again, find out what is that gap, be honest with yourself, and then it's like a stack on top of that: decisiveness, commitment, resourcefulness. And the final thing, guys, which is honestly maybe even one of the most important, if not the most important, is coachable. It is coachable. Because guys, here's the thing: is so many people want to make it harder than it needs to be, because they're still trying. Again, they're trying the old stuff. It's like, I'm trying to just read the books. I'm trying to do the self-study. I'm trying to read the hundreds of Google articles and talk to my friends who have an opinion. And, my brother-in-law, he did good. He won the lotto once. And so let me get his thoughts. And like, let me talk to my friend who, he bought Google back in the day and like he made it rich, but that's all. And so let me get his advice and stuff like that. Whatever it is, you're making it harder than it has to be by just continuing to work with people that are not experts. It's like, and guys, that's just the truth. Like, I talk about this time and time again. Like, I'm gonna hit this like a cheap rap song. It's like, you gotta get expert advice. So you need expert help. Like, if you guys really want that, you need an expert. And on top of that, though, you have to be coachable. So what I mean by that is, if you are stubborn and you are stiff-necked and you refuse to listen to anybody that's not you, guys, you're not going to get the result. You can find the best coach in the world, and if you don't listen to their advice, you're going to fail. You're going to fail, and you're not going to get hope. So that's where I'm talking about, guys. Again, if you want to get back hope, those are ultimately the four things. Again, you've got to be decisive and decisive, committed. You've got to be resourceful. You've got to be real. You've got to be real. You cannot ignore the problems, ignore the pain, and pretend like everything's going to be fine. If you don't change, you got to be honest. But then, like I said, on top of that, you just got to be coachable. You just have to be willing to like follow a proven plan, follow a proven system, follow someone that actually knows what they're doing. And then you just do it. It is not that hard. And as long as you show up, you do the work, you put your head down. It's like, that's why when you guys see our interviews, it's like, these are people that put in the time, put in the work, and people are like, man, it just sounds so, I talked to another lady the other day. She was like, man, she's like, even just watching some of your stuff, like it's kind of skeptical because it's like it just seems like, all you have to do, it's like, if you just do the work, you get the outcome. And it was like, yeah, like it's really that simple. It's like, you do the work, it's like, it's the point of your doctor. Your doctor looks at what is the problem, what is the treatment. If you do these treatments, this will be the outcome. It's like, it's a formula. It's really not that complicated. It's like, you have a major problem, you're in debt, your communication sucks, or you don't have enough savings, or you're not making enough money as much as you want to, whatever it would be. You find an expert that helps people do that. You find a system that allows you to get there. It's your medication, it's your treatment, it's your rehab, whatever it would be. And then you show up and then you do it. It's going to get you the outcome every single time. But it's like, but yeah, if you show up and if you're not coachable and you just kind of ignore it, and if you don't do the assignments, you don't do the work, you don't do the homework, you don't do the exercises, you don't take the medication or the treatment, of course it's not going to work. And of course you're not going to have hope. So guys, again, if you want hope, if you want to be able to actually feel like it's possible again, whatever that gap is, if you think about your dream, if you want to believe that this is still possible, if you want to get back to that place of like believing that it can work for you, that you can actually fix this, that you can get where you want to be, then I would invite you guys to go to dreamteammarriage.com, book a call with us, and we will help you guys get back that hope. We will look at where are you at right now. Again, we talk about right here, the situation, what's not working in terms of the problems that you're facing, not enough savings, too much debt, marriage communication isn't where we want it to be, not making enough money, whatever it would be for you. Okay. We're going to look at where do you want to be? What is again, it's like what all the dreams, it's like, I want to be in our dream house. I want to be able to travel more. I want to be able to give more. I want to be able to serve more people. I want to be able to, take my kids and do these sorts of things and treat them and not always have to say no, whatever it would be. We're going to look at, again, what's the gap? And then how can we get you guys there? What is a process? What is a way and a procedure for you guys to be able to get that? What's the best strategy for you? And if we can help you do that and walk you through that strategy, we'll absolutely let you know. But if we don't see, this is the thing, guys, we get people on our calls and it's like, when I talk about what are those 4 hacks? I ask, are you those things? And if I'm not convinced that people are those things, I don't even talk about what we do and how we solve the problem, period, which is unheard of, guys. If you call somebody who's a financial professional, someone who's meant to help people get out of debt, build wealth, transform their communication around money, heal those wounds, whatever it would be, they're usually going to get on the phone with you for a few, and it's like immediately they're into some sort of sales pitch. It's like, hey, here's what we're going to do. They have no idea what the problem is. It'd be like if you went to the doctor and before the doctor ran any tests, asked any questions, within 2 minutes, the doctor started writing a prescription. I remember I had this happen to me one time. It drove me crazy. I got Lyme's disease. I thought I was dying. I was facing crazy amounts of anxiety I never experienced in my entire life. And I get in the room with the doctor, and I was like, my regular doctor, who's an integrative health doctor, who I knew was amazing, knew my history. She always asked tons of questions to get to the root of what was really wrong. She was back in the office or whatever, and she couldn't come right away. So this other doctor comes in. I kid you not, within like 2 or 3 minutes of questions, he's like, well, have you ever tried this antidepressant or anti-anxiety? And I'm like, you haven't run any tests. You haven't asked me hardly any questions. It's like, and you're immediately going to give me a prescription. It just felt icky. I'm like, does he get paid to write these out? I'm like, what's the deal? It just felt weird. And I was so frustrated. And then sure enough, I was like, can she please get, and sure enough, she found out I was there. She actually came in and took over the appointment, asked me tons of questions, spent 30, 40 minutes with me asking questions. Eventually we did some blood work, whatever, and started figuring out what are some of the issues and the problems that we're dealing with. And so guys, again, anybody that you get on the phone with that isn't going to take time to really help you diagnose what's wrong, they don't care. They're only in it. Like all they have in mind is like what they can sell or what they can rid of or whatever the heck their program is that they're selling. But guys, you need somebody that is going to actually take the time to help you get a massive breakthrough and figure out what is causing the gap. Why is it that you're still stuck? Why is it that you're still feeling hopeless? You need someone who's going to take the time to do that. That's what we do. That's why we call it a breakthrough session with you and your spouse. We are going to get to the root of it. We're going to figure out what exactly is keeping you stuck, but then we're going to have fun talking about, again, we talked about where you're at. We're going to talk about where do you want to be. We're going to talk about all of your dreams and your goals. You're going to get more clarity around what are some of the most exciting, uniting, plans and adventures and things you want to do with your spouse than you've ever had. We're going to have a great time with that. And we're going to get there. And again, we'll talk about, okay, are you those things? Okay, don't even book this call. If from this moment forward, now again, I'm not talking about the past. I know if you look in the past, you were like, man, Jeremy, like I have not been very resourceful. I've not been very committed. I definitely haven't been coachable, whatever. That's fine in the past. I'm just talking about from this moment going forward. If you've had it, if you're sick of it, if you're through with accepting where you're currently at, again, not having where you want to be, when you think about the gap, where you at, where you want to be, if you're sick of having that gap there, then again, book that call. If not, don't book the call. But we will get you clear on what exactly it is, and we'll get you clear on that so that ultimately it's like once you have that much clarity, you'll be willing to actually take the steps to actually fix it. And again, if we can help you and if we can give you those steps, we'll let you know. But if not, if I honestly, in my professional opinion, don't believe it's in your best interest, I will let you guys know, and I will steer you somewhere else. I promise you. It's because again, guys, we're not here. It's like I don't need the money, I don't need the practice. It's like we only work with people that are highly committed, highly coachable, highly resourceful, and ultimately that they have a real problem that we can fix. And some people just flat out don't. And honestly, the main reason why we turn people away, it's really not their situation. It's really just that they're just pretty indifferent and apathetic, and they really just don't care. And if it's like that's the case, I just don't know people that can fix it. So again, but again, you might maybe you're not like quite like that. Maybe you're fired up, and maybe your spouse is like, he or she is the one. It's fine. Still book the call, but ultimately just know that we have to get clear on what that is. And if you guys get to that place of we're finally sick and tired of it, and especially if I can sense on the call, we'll talk about that. If not, again, we'll part friends, and I'll love you and I'll send you on your way. And it's like, and I'll serve you however best we can. But ultimately, guys, if you want back hope, those things are non-negotiables. Okay. If you want back hope, those things are non-negotiables. You have to put those things into place. You have to be able to do that in order to be able to get back your hope, change your life, and ultimately get you guys the freedom and the dreams that are on your heart. GoDreamTeamMarriage.com, and we will serve you guys. We will love you guys to your dream, and we will do everything in our capabilities to get you guys overneath the bridge to cross that gap and to get you guys to whatever those things are that you want, whether it's more money, more savings, less debt, better communication, better transformation in your marriage. We're going to talk about that, and if we can do that, we will absolutely let you guys know. So GoDreamTeamMarriage.com, and we will serve you guys, and we will talk to you guys soon on the next show. So have a great day, guys. Bye.